G249 Global News. There are 249 recognized countries and territories on our map. From the world's largest cities to its most remote islands, G249 Global brings you the news through the human lens as we live it, as we feel it, as you see it.
The world is waking up to a reality where borders are becoming suggestions and sovereignty is under fire. While the mainstream networks give you the script they were handed, G249 tracks the pulse they want to hide. From the courtrooms of New York to the places of West Africa, all 249 dots are connecting. This is the truth behind the noise. I am Laura Leon, and you are watching G249 Global News. For a long time, we delivered the truth through AI voices. We did that to keep the focus strictly on the data, away from the noise of personality. But the world shifted in 2026. With global instability rising and sovereignty under threat, the time for masks is over. I am here, live and transparent, because in an age of deception, you deserve a human witness. I am stepping out from behind the technology because the truth needs a face. All 249 dots are about to connect, because all of them matter. Humanity in focus. Let's look at the pulse of the globe right now. While the mainstream media is distracted, the geopolitical plates are hardening into a new reality. Syria and Iran have finalized a historic unity pact. This is a direct response to the US operations in Venezuela. They are signaling that the extraction model, where leaders are simply taken, will not be tolerated in the region and will be met with a kinetic military response. Damascus and Tehran are building a wall of resistance against any attempt at a New York-led judicial takeover of their leadership. In Asia, China has launched Operation Sovereign Shield in the Philippine Sea. They are filling the vacuum while the US naval assets are diverted to the Caribbean. This is a massive realignment in the South China Sea. Beijing is moving in while Washington is distracted, fundamentally changing the security map of the Pacific. Brussels is in a state of quiet panic. We are tracking reports of gold for oil talks between the EU and the Gulf states. Europe is preparing for a world where Washington is no longer a stable anchor for their energy or security. They are watching the pressure on Denmark and Greenland and realizing that if the US can threaten the sovereignty of an Arctic ally for resources, no one in Europe is safe. The empire shadow is reaching across the Atlantic, and the EU is looking for an exit strategy. We have urgent news out of Africa. At 1 a.m. last night, a coup was attempted in Burkina Faso against Captain Ibrahim Traore. Our reports indicate it was backed by foreign puppet interests, but it fell for one reason: the people. Thousands of citizens didn't wait for a signal. They marched to the palace and formed a human shield. They remembered the history of Thomas Sankara, and they said, never again. This is the blueprint for the new world. When the people act as the shield, foreign-sponsored transitions fail. This is a message from Africa to the world. Sovereignty belongs to the people, not to those who found the cops. Now, let's look at Colombia. The 47th administration labels President Gustavo Petro an adversary. But let's look at the facts. Under Petro, Colombia has recorded the highest cocaine seizures in human history. They are hitting the cartels and the infrastructure harder than any administration before them. If the US goal is truly stopping drugs, why is the most effective partner they ever had being attacked? We must also look at the depth of honor in 1951. Colombia was the only Latin American nation to send its sons to die in South Korea's freedom. Today, as Colombia's sovereignty is under fire, South Korea remains silent. G249 is calling for Seoul to remember that depth. History is not a one-way street, and honor must matter. As the administration of Donald Trump speaks of cleaning up corruption abroad, we must look at the standards of justice at home. G249 is looking at the unsealed Epstein files. These are not rumors, they are public record. We're looking at flight logs from the Lolita Express, especially dates like January 5th, 1994 and October 1995, where Donald Trump's name appears. We're looking at sworn depositions and the decades-long social ties at Mar-a-Lago. Integrity is the foundation of leadership. You cannot demand transparency from other nations while shielding your own history from judicial scrutiny. If these files remain hidden, the moral high ground is lost. The dots connect directly back to the character of those who hold the power. The international community is reacting in numbers we have never seen. Over 40 nations have now issued formal protests or statements of grave concern against current U.S. extraction policies and expansionist threats. Brazil's President Lula has called it a violation of the sacred principle of non-intervention. Mexico's President Sheinbaum has officially questioned the legality of these actions. The African Union, representing 55 nations, have stated clearly that the era of foreign-sponsored transitions is over. The US is increasingly isolated, using the dollar as a weapon and the UN veto as a shield, while the rest of the world builds a new consensus that respects borders. Billions of people are represented by these leaders, who are saying enough is enough. The Empire's shadow and the US military. This pattern of expansionism, the threats to take over Greenland, the foot over Denmark, the extraction of leaders, is a warning to the globe: resources over borders. This is a message to the men and women in the US military. For decades, you were seen as a force for peace and love, the ones who helped after disasters and stood for the defense of the Constitution. You were the heroes, but today, because of the orders coming from the top, the world is beginning to see you as a hammer for an expansionist empire. You are being used to kidnap leaders and threaten sovereign countries and allies. We know your hearts are for the Constitution, but how does that legacy survive when you are used to deliver global ultimatums? The world is watching the soul of the American military. The era of silence
All
observation
249 dots
The
matter.
world is choosing
Follow us
silence.
to see the weekly
And
news.
the truth is coming
This is
to light.
249
I am
Global.
Laura Leon.
Our world,
This
humanity
is
in
G249.
focus.
Please share the signal, subscribe to the polls, and stay informed. All 249 dots matter.
Follow us on YouTube at 249
Humanity
Global,
in focus.
on X at G249 News, on Instagram at 249 Global.